you? How many miles are you running today?
No miles because we're at the beautiful White House, but why don't I give you a tour?
Let's do it.
My name is Karoline Leavitt. I am from New Hampshire and I am the White House press secretary.
Kate Mackz has posted, deleted, reposted, I think 3 times now, the video with KKK Karoline. I can't. I just commented on it saying,
is anybody else shocked that Kate Mackz posted that video with Karoline Leavitt? No. There's not a single person of color that is shocked that a white woman prioritized her whiteness over her womanhood. It happens quite frequently. I keep on seeing videos of people being shocked, and I can't think of anything less shocking in this world than that. We have historical inferences of white women doing this quite consistently. We can look at voting records. You don't even have to go that far back if you don't want to. You can literally just go to November. But women's suffrage is actually a prime example of this happening, ironically enough. Now, hey, white women are not the only marginalized group that do this. However, they are the most egregious offenders, in my opinion, by sheer volume and by instance. When you exist at the intersection of multiple marginalizations, you start to pick up on patterns between different marginalized groups. Having a marginalized identity has allowed me to see that some other marginalized people don't actually want liberation for their community. They just want the power and privilege to forget the fact that they are marginalized, or at least not have to deal with it in any meaningful way. Those types of marginalized people operate on a dichotomy that you can either be the bullied or the bully. Liberation doesn't really cross their mind.
Boy. So we got to talk about the liberal, loving, tolerant left, except they're not very liberal, they're not very loving, and they're damn sure not very tolerant. And this story right here is just another great example of what I'm talking about, because apparently we have a bunch of liberal women, mainly liberal white women, but a bunch of liberal women upset at Kate Mackz, who is, I guess, an influencer, right? She is a girl that runs up to people, random people who tend to be famous, right, on the street, and she asked them if they want to do a run with her, right, if they want to run together, and then they run, and they basically do like running interviews.
Governor, how many miles are you running today?
Let's start with a mile and see what goes from there. Hey everybody, Tim Walz here. I happen to be the governor of Minnesota right now, and a VP candidate running a mile with Kate.
We're in Central Park. What are you doing in New York City?
We're here on the campaign, 15 days left, but did you hear what you just said? We're running in Central Park. How cool is that?
I heard after the presidential debate, you were in New York City and you went for a run in Central Park.
I did the reservoir route, so it was great.
How long have you been running for?
Picked it up about 12 years ago. Had kids, you kind of get out of it, needed to get healthy. Best stress reliever you could possibly find.
You went from running in Minnesota, now you're on the campaign trail, accompanied by Secret Service. What is it like running the Secret Service around you?
It's a little different, but runners are runners anywhere. So it's a little busier, but still fun.
This is the first time I've ever heard of this influencer. So, if any of you guys know more about her than me, then educate me in the comment section. But regardless, Kate Mackz decided to do an interview with the White House with Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. And now you have liberals losing their minds, right? They're losing their minds over the fact that Kate Mackz decided to platform Karoline Leavitt in the Trump White House, including Tim Walz's daughter, this lovely young lady here in this video. They're very, very, very upset, right, about this. And I want to react to it because once again, we can see how intolerant the left really is. Okay, these are the most intolerant people on earth.
Running as an act is political. And you know who taught me that? Tim Walz. The first thing he told me when I was first getting into it in high school, granted, I don't really do it as much anymore. I go in spurts, but when I was first getting into it in high school, the first thing he told me was that running is a privilege, and being a part of the running community is a privilege that not all people have access to. Whether you do it recreationally or you race a lot or you are, at the elite level, it is a privilege. Whether it be you just having the time to run, access to funds to buy the gear, access to, healthy quality foods that fuel you as you're training and as you're running, access to, a safe, stable situation that allows you to be in a good mental state to be able to run. All of those things are hard to come by, and if you have them and are a part of the running community, that is a privilege. And that, again, was the first thing he taught me. So I don't really understand how platforming and administration that cuts mental health services, cuts funding and literal shipments to food banks is entirely hurting the climate, because you can get into running in the climate. That's a whole nother thing. But it's cutting, funds to climate initiatives and actively hurting the planet in that way. Sending people away without due process, villainizing minorities. All of those things are preventing people from getting into the running community, which is what I thought Kate's platform was for. But it's also just damaging to society as a whole. We should not be normalizing these people. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do with their page, but I think it's insulting to my dad to leave a certain video pinned, especially when he stands for quite literally the opposite of what this administration is doing. You don't get to both sides this. It's not both sides. We are quite literally talking about good versus evil here, and I'm just really disappointed the whole thing happened. I was there when that video with my dad was filmed, and I was very impressed with Kate, and this is just extremely disappointing.
Hey!
Wow. That is the left, guys, right? The intolerance is just astonishing. It really is. Because in this woman's mind, running is political, right? According to her and her woke logic, right? According to her woke logic, because that's what she was using there, right? She was speaking wokenese, right? That's what she was doing. Running is political. Therefore, it is offensive to have a video of Tim Walz, her father, and Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, for the Trump administration, right? That is insulting, because running is political. This is a political thing for her, right? Everything she posts on her page is political. The only thing that's acceptable is left-wing politics. That's it, right? Left-wing politics is acceptable because this is about good versus evil. That's how these people think. That's how they think. They think that you are evil. You are an evil person if you disagree with them on politics. That's what they believe, because their rights under attack. Meanwhile, I'm not sure what rights have been taken away by the Trump administration. I mean, these people may argue that he's taking away rights from illegals, but I would argue they never had those rights in the first place, right? If they did have those rights, then they shouldn't have them anymore, okay? And just because I believe that does not make me a bad person. It doesn't make me a bad person. We just have a disagreement. But liberals can't tolerate that, right? They can't tolerate simple disagreements. No, it is a good versus evil thing. And I think this is exactly what I'm talking about.
How many miles are you running today?
No miles, because we're at the beautiful White House, but why don't I give you a tour?
Let's do it.
My name is Karoline Leavitt. I am from New Hampshire, and I am the White House press secretary, and this is the beautiful White House. We're currently walking on what we call Pebble Beach. This is where all of the press hang out.
Guys, we have to stop for a second and look at this. I can't believe you get to wake up and be here every single day. Is this a dream come true for you?
It is a dream come true. The White House is so beautiful, especially this time of year. That's where President Trump and the first family live, and then this is the front entrance to the West Wing.
What is your roles and responsibilities at the White House?
Yeah, my job is to relay the president's message and his agenda and his views and feelings to the American people through the press.
What is your favorite space at the White House?
Well, why don't we go right in here and I will show you. And here you are, James S. Brady briefing room. It's historic and it is quiet right now, but typically on a briefing day you would walk in here and it will be packed with journalists from all across the world who show up to the briefings to ask me questions.
It's a lot more intimate than I thought.
That's the initial reaction of everyone who comes in here. It's way smaller than you would imagine. We need to make it bigger so we can allow more voices in.
What do you do for preparation before walking into this room?
I pray to God before every briefing. It's a moment to just ground myself and level set. But before the prayer comes a lot of preparation. My team and I are just reading the news, consuming everything. I talk to the president multiple times before I take the podium to fully understand what he's thinking and feeling so I can relay it to the public.
How far is your office from the Oval Office?
Okay. It's just a few steps away if you want to come check it out. So this is the infamous blue door that we walk out of, and this is what we call lower press. This is where my incredible team sits every day. This is Liz, that's Davis, Pat.
Hi, nice to meet you.
We also have Harrison in here, Anna, and we have Kush, and they are the front lines of the White House press shop. This used to be my seat here when I was an assistant press secretary. Follow
You're
Kate
good.
Mackz if you're not already. She's an icon. This is my office. I have Obviously photos of myself with the president. You also have a picture of me, and that's my baby, my 9-month-old son. That was from our senior staff swearing in ceremony. And then this picture here is from my first briefing. This is my fun little cork board. This is a 7th grade class from Georgia who came to visit. Their dad is one of my colleagues here in the White House, and they asked if I could go speak to the students, and they wrote me and sign this cute little thing. Another picture of my baby on his first Air Force One flight. And then this is a meme that I love. It's a man pointing at a brain, and it says, "No thanks, I won't be needing that because I believe everything the legacy media shows." So look, we want critical thinking around here.
You started out as a White House intern during Trump's first term. What is it like now being back and being the White House press secretary for him?
It's crazy. I mean, it has totally come completely full circle. Every day when I come into work, I try to remember what a blessing it is to work in this building and to remember the policies we're implementing are truly impacting so many lives. Don't forget, it's the people's house. It belongs to the American taxpayer and the American public. This place is not for the president. It is not for the people that work here. It's for the American people, which is why you see tours almost every single day, because it belongs to all of you.
What is a quote or motto that you live by?
God is within her. She will not fail. Hi, guys.
Look who we ran.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that. I thought that was fascinating. I thought that it was very interesting to see the inside of the White House press room, right? To see how the sausage is made, the offices, the work environment. I thought that it was very informative. Okay. And it wasn't even political. It wasn't political at all. But the leftists, no, they thought that that was political, right? That is political, okay? And this is why they're very upset. They're boo-whining and crying over this video. Take a look.
I've been tagged in this video many times, but this is the Kate Mackz interview with Karoline Leavitt at the White House, where Kate Mackz is an influencer that does running content, and she interviews people while they go for a run together. She obviously didn't run with Karoline Leavitt because Karoline Leavitt doesn't physically run. She just runs her mouth, and also runs for office, fails, and then keeps all of those donations and legally instead of giving it back. And then she cooks her books and then says, "Hey guys, if you borrowed money, you have to pay it back. Sorry if you can't afford groceries or anything like that. You need to pay back the money that you're owed." So that's fun. And then they walked around the White House campus. She showed her the briefing room. She very smugly was like, "This is where I used to work, in this desk with these scrubs." And she walks into her office, and then there's like a bunch of pictures of her. I don't know. It's really fun. It's giving Facebook user, because it's like, why do you need so many pictures of yourself? Did you forget this was your office? And then the one thing that really stuck out to me was this one little meme that she had next to her desk that said, "Here's my brain. I won't need this." And she said it was about the legacy media, and that we enjoy critical thinking, and it's just wild. That's a wild thing to say.
Hi. So like, what the fuck are we doing? Kate Mackz, let's talk for a second about normalizing monsters, shall we? Kate, you know, the one who says, "Hey, will you run with me?" Which, like, literally never. If you ever ask me that question, I will run so far in the opposite direction. She posted this video with this fucking narc of a human, this disgusting human being. If you are unaware, this is Karoline Leavitt, Trump's press secretary. And no, this is not an article from The Onion. Karoline Leavitt is hosting fake White House press briefings for pro-Trump influencers like MAGA Malfoy. The press secretary has been taking friendly, made-for-camera questions at new media press briefings that are separate from the ones involving the White House press pool. Kate uploaded the video and was liking every comment under the sun, being like, "This is journalism. This is unbiased journalism. I am so happy that there is someone who is able to do this." You interviewed Tim Walz, and now you're doing Karoline. And, like, you get it. You are one for the people. Girl, hello? It's not the same, and I don't know how many times we need to have this conversation, but these two administrations, what could have been, Tim Walz could have been, are so far from the fucking same. And you justifying it, and you defending it, and then you deleting that video to re-upload it. Why? Also noticed to change the caption. Like
The choice words that I have for that runner that decided to do like a little tour of the White House with Karoline Leavitt like yesterday would get me banned off the app, so I can't be that transparent. But first of all, I just would like to say, nobody gaff. Nobody gives a gaff about Karoline Leavitt's whack-ass morning routine. What? First of all, your whole platform is like, let's run together and you can talk and we can interview. This bitch ain't running. This hoe's walking around the White House being like, look, this is me and Trump, and look at him. This is my office. What is this? Who is this helping? And it's not even aligned with her platform. I've never even seen this girl before, and I went through her account and I saw fucking Tim Walz is pinned, and I clicked on that and I saw that I had liked it. And I was like, okay, so that made sense because you're actively in an election season. You'd think, okay, maybe this is where her morals lie, whatever. She's choosing to interview Tim Walz. This is awesome. He's also running, so it makes sense because you're a runner. You're a runner. So I'm just thinking about how much money it took her to go to do this, because like what you thought that the general reaction was going to be, especially right now, as Karoline Leavitt stands up there, embodiment. I think that actually, like, if you threw holy water on her, she would burst into flames. She just lies and lies and uses Twitter as a factual source to lie to the American people, to confuse them, to keep them scared and hateful, and perpetuate all these stereotypes. All she does is try to scare everybody.
It's a damn shame. It really is. It's a damn shame, because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. These people are so hateful that they don't understand that their hate is blinding them from what they claim that their mission is, right? Their mission is to uplift so-called minorities, right? Except the minorities that don't go along with their political agenda, right? That seems to be kind of how this works, because Karoline Leavitt is the youngest White House press secretary ever, right? And she's a woman. Now, normally the left would celebrate young women who are as accomplished as Karoline Leavitt at such a young age, right? I think that she does the job really, really, really well, right? Regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree with her, I think she's doing a damn good job. Probably one of President Trump's best picks. Okay, I think she's great. But again, normally the left would celebrate an individual like this. But because she's aligned with Trump, because she's aligned with somebody they disagree with politically, her accomplishments as a so-called minority, right, as a woman, apparently doesn't count, right? It doesn't matter, and it shouldn't be respected, right? Again, it's crazy how that works. Do these people care about the fact that, hey, somebody like her being a young woman, becoming White House press secretary, can inspire other young women to want to do that, right, and to reach those heights? You don't think it's a good thing, okay, to have that type of representation, quote unquote? Again, apparently it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. All that stuff goes out the window when it comes to the Trump administration. And it's not like they was picked because of any of that stuff, right? That's not why they were picked. They were picked because they were the best for the job. They were the best person for the job. That's why she was picked. So again, you know, it's just funny to me how these people once again show us that, again, they're not pro-minority, they're pro-progressive, they're pro-socialist, they're pro-communist, they're woke agenda. That's what they're pro. That's what it's about. It's not about uplifting women. It's not about uplifting minorities. They just use that. That's what they tell the stupid people in regards to why you should get on board with the woke agenda, why you should get on board with communism. So in this situation, Kate Mackz, hey, I got to say, you should keep holding it down. And I don't think that these liberal women lashing out against her are going to get what they're looking for, right? Because essentially what they're showing is that they're the party of hate and intolerance. And when Kate Mackz interviewed Tim Walz, you didn't see conservatives losing their minds. We weren't losing our minds. I didn't even know about it, right? Because we don't care, right? We don't care like that. So you got liberal women pushing away people like Kate Mackz, right? Because that's what they're doing. They're pushing her away simply because she decided to interview the White House press secretary, right? Over something extremely petty. When she interviewed Tim Walz, she did Tim Walz. Okay, what's wrong with her doing the other side, right? What's wrong with that? That's fair and balanced. Fair and balanced. Oh, well, Karoline Leavitt, she doesn't deserve to be celebrated. She doesn't deserve to be platformed, right? She's evil. She hates women. She's taking away our rights, okay? All types of nonsense and propaganda. That, again, it's not about uplifting minorities with these people. They will tear you down if you are a minority. Kate Mackz, a woman. Karoline Leavitt, a woman. So two women, they're tearing down these women over politics. But then they'll turn around and tell you they're fighting for women's rights. Okay, this is all about liberating women. this to me does not look like liberation, right? It doesn't look like liberation for women to be women. It actually seems like forced slavery for the Democrat Party, right? That's what it kind of seems like to me. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.